Welcome to part 3 of this series of videos covering Full Moon's Witchouse series and Full Moon's partnership with Tempe Entertainment. In the previous couple of videos, I talked about parts 1 and 2 in the Witchouse series, and I talked about some of the history between Full Moon and J.R. Bookwalter. But before I get into part 3, I want to point out one thing that I did not mention last time in Witchouse 2 Blood Coven. That was the last, or second to last, depending on who you ask, film to be shot in Romania, and working with Castel Studios. Charlie at the time was hurting a little bit for cash, and I read that in Confessions of a Puppet Master, which I've read many times. But anyways, so he was hurting a little bit for cash, and it was really getting more expensive to film in Romania since it'd been a decade since filming The Puppet Master, and the cost caught up with the industry. So it wasn't as, financially viable to go out there and film. You might as well just stick around, and stick around he did. He finally sold off his shares to Vlad Ponescu, a once great partner for Charlie and producer of Full Moon Films, and he moved everything back, like I said, to L.A. Castel Films actually is still up and running to this day, even after 34 years. And so if you go to castelfilm.ro, there's a bunch of pics there, and maybe I'll show you a couple here, but it's it's still up and running, and they talk about the movies that they've done since then, some ones you've definitely heard of. But anyways, like, subscribe, we're going to go ahead and get into it. Though it was the end of Full Moon's working with Castel Studios, it was the beginning of another whole era at Full Moon, the Tempe era. J.R. Bookwalter had a production company that was called Tempe Video in the beginning. He'd had it for a long time. He actually launched it in 1987. How he did that, he dug up an old instructional video he made called Basic How-To Halloween Makeups. He recut that movie, added some polish where it needed it, started selling it along with some other VHS goodies. Anything he could dig up, to be honest with you. He started selling those at conventions, mail order. Remember the old mail order days where you look in the back of Fangoria magazine? I'll say, anyway, it's so much easier now to get movies, you guys. It's a perfect time to be a horror fan. Anyway, that blossomed into him actually making his own movie in 1992 called Ozone. Eventually, and after Witchouse 2, Bookwalter really tried and actually succeeded to make a deal with Band to shoot some movies on video. He initially put together a 4-movie deal where Tempe, namely J.R. Bookwalter, would be in charge from script to final product. Back in those days, I wasn't really a fan of Full Moon's output, man. Like I said, I talked about it earlier. This is probably my least favorite era, but I'll tell you what, it's still worth talking about, and promise. I've been talking about this for 3 episodes. Anyways, like I said, the output was rough. We'd gone from great epics like Puppet Master, Dr. Mordred, Trancers, Subspecies, to movies like Horror Vision, Stitches, and Deathbed. I'll tell you what, though, I've made my amends, and I have come to really appreciate these, and I get a lot of enjoyment out of them. I think that I just really got hung up on the obvious drop-off of the film quality. Well, it couldn't be a drop of film quality since all these movies were filmed on video, but you know what I'm saying. I have to admit, it took me a long time to gain and appreciate these Tempe era movies. But I'll tell you what, it's fine. It's good now. I've grown up. I've amended my ways. But anyways, okay, so Danny Draven, a name that is well known in Charlie Band film circles, was very active during this era. Directing many of the Tempe-produced Full Moon movies, such as Horror Vision, Deathbed. He stuck around Full Moon even after the partnership between Bookwalter and Band was severed. He directed movies like Real Evil from 2012, Ouija's Halloween Night from 2019, and Bad CGI Gator from 2023. And I'll tell you what, though, there is a distinct difference between the look and feel between the movies produced during the Tempe era and the preceding and the following eras. But that's fine. Like I said, we've made our amends. We're good with it. That brings us to Witchouse 3 Demon Fire from 2001. Directed by Bookwalter and written with him and Matthew Jason Walsh, known for writing a movie like Petticoat Planet from 1996. I can't do that very soon, too, on this show, because that's another horny one that I'll have to wait a few episodes in between. But he also did The Killer Eye from 1999, Biker Babes from Beyond the Grave, also 1999, and many of the Brotherhood films, which, if you've been around in the 2000s, stuff like that, they're all entries in David DeCoteau's acclaimed series of Tidy Whitey Fridays, and look that up and you'll know exactly what I mean. Witchouse 3 currently stands at a 3.7 on IMDb with 440 ratings. I think that the first two Witchouse films, the only person that I'd heard of before watching those that starred in those was Andrew Prine. However, part 3 actually had a few names I recognized. Honestly, there were only like 5 characters in this whole movie, and I recognized 4 of them, so that's pretty good. This starred Debbie Rochon as Stevie, and you'll know Debbie Rochon is the world's greatest tiny budget film scream queen. Did a lot of work for Trauma and a lot of just micro budget type stuff. She plays Stevie in this. This also starred Tanya Dempsey from Shrieker, which I've watched recently before this actually. She plays Annie. And finally we have Tina Kraus from so many low budget movies. She has actually 159 credits on IMDb. The first time I really remember her was actually on Henenlotter's Bad Biology. However, I will say, and I just learned this recently, I just watched this documentary recently, you need to watch the documentary Mail Order Murder, the story of Wave Productions from 2019. You must do this at your earliest convenience. There is no excuse because it's on Tubi. It's all about like this old shot on video movie studio where they'd make movies depending on what the folks wanted. Tina Kraus was in a ton of these, and they're pretty gnarly, man. They made bondage movies, chloroform, like when they knock the chicks out with chloroform, just kind of like a dude's fantasies, and they just make it. It's like feet moving, all sorts of just weird stuff, man. And it's like, I mean, I don't know how many I've seen of those, but it's like, I'm sure they're not like great, but knowing that the context about them just makes them wild. But anyways, finally, Witchouse 3. And we know this person, and if you don't, you're in big trouble. Finally, Witchouse 3 starred Brinke Stevens in what was little more than a cameo role as Lilith. Witchouse 3 Demon Fire is different from both previous entries of the series. Witchouse 3 was filmed totally on video and has a much smaller scope than Witchouse 2, and it takes place in a regular old house and regular old locations, unlike Witchouse. So this is all about Annie, who is a victim of apparent domestic violence, who runs to her friends Rose and Stevie's house to escape. She shows up right in time to witness her friends balls deep in what looks like a deep, dark, satanic ritual. Well, it turns out they're just making a documentary about witchcraft or something similar. They quickly get over it all and hop in the jacuzzis in bikinis to have some drinks. Well, it turns out that during Stevie's meddling with the occult arts, while studying and making her documentary, she brings back Lilith LeFay. And this time, like I said, it's played by Brinke Stevens. There isn't a whole lot other than that in the movie, and that's not to say it's bad, because I think it's actually really fun. But I think the biggest sin in this movie is that there are 3 super hot women in this, and 4 if you include Brinke Stevens, even though this is a little bit later when she got a little bit older, which is fine. I know a lot of you love the Cougars, but I wish I didn't go on that tangent. But anyway, like I said, the biggest sin is that we only get to see a few tiny seconds of nudity from Kraus. Come on, Bookwalter. The closest thing we get is Rochon taking a braless jog on the beach. Other than that, bro, you had so much potential. All right, enough of my horniness. I apologize. Like I said, I enjoyed this one as well. Admittedly, I like bad movies, and some would put all 3 of these in that category. I think all of them have some really great attributes. I don't know what the possibilities of getting remasters of these are, but I have all of them on DVD. Like, I cannot remember where and when I picked them up. It's funny because like I don't even have the covers anymore. So I keep my Blu-rays and DVDs in like sleeves so I can keep track of them where they are, so I don't have to search my collection every time I want to watch a movie. I can just go and so I'm going through there, and I have these 3 DVDs, but they're ancient. Like I said, I don't know when I picked these up or whatever, but I have no idea, but I'm glad I have them because I got to see behind the scenes stuff, which is pretty cool. And at this point, I'd love to see these in HD if that's even possible, man. I don't even know. I mean, it's funny because I do have Video Violence 1 and 2 on Blu-ray, but they still look like VHS transfers. Even though I admitted that the Tempe era of Full Moon is probably my least favorite, there's still a lot of gems. The Dead Hate the Living, Witchouse 3, Deadly Strangers, etc. It's an interesting part of Full Moon's history, if nothing else. I gotta hand it to Bookwalter, man. Dude came in after building his own company from scratch. Dude used to edit on an Apple iBook, which is a low consumer style laptop sold like from 1999 to 2006. He was editing feature films on this, and they were garbage, man. Trust me, I remember those. They were garbage. But anyways, that's all I got. Thank you for watching. I really appreciate it. This was a fun little rabbit hole to go down. The Tempe era, J.R. Bookwalter, the Witchouse trilogy. Like I said, I appreciate you if you watch all 3 of these. Let me know what's going on. Give me some comments at the bottom. Subscribe if you haven't already. But anyways, that's all I got for you guys today. Except for go to corpsecollective.com and check out what else we've got going on over there. But for now, I'll catch you guys later.